So I want to take video. Okay, I go out and I'm coming in and I'm acting as a manager. A manager is putting other people to work. If she would tell you what is the amortization table and how to calculate the loan, that means that I'm doing a good job. If she cannot be able to do it, that means I'm doing a bad job. If I'm doing a bad job, I have two options. One option is to go on and improve her performance. The other option is to remove her from the job and get someone else in the job. And this is how life works. That means that you are always in a competing process. And if you want to keep whatever you're doing, you need to be able to perform. And you need to be able to evaluate what is happening, right? I'm out. By the time I'm going to be here in 3 minutes, I want them to tell me what you told them about the loans. Lesson number 2. Do you understand what I said? I don't want you to tell me what you know. I want you to tell me what she is going to tell you. Then I want to know, did she said everything right or she made any mistake? And I want you to tell me if she made a mistake, what you have to do so you would correct your mistake. Why? Because I don't want you only to learn finance, I want you to be financial manager. And a financial manager is not the person who is doing the work, is the person that oversees others to do the work. Clear?
Yes.
Good. The floor is yours. Be in a place that they can see you. Speak loud.
So do you guys understood what I said before? What is an amortization table? Want to?
Can you explain it again, please?
Okay, so I said an amortization table is basically showing the payments you're going to be making every year with the interest and principal payment. Do you guys remember how many loans we did last week? 4? So you guys, can you guys tell me what the 4 loans are?
So it's an interest-only loan, equal amortization term loan, equal amortization mortgage. We also did the previous value and net present value. I think it was the equal amortization loan, and then we did payment in a year 1 to 9 or 0.
Do you guys understand what the difference between the equal amortization loan, equal long-term loans? Nobody? So the equal principal payment loan is just a payment that you're going to be making over the same amount of years. So it's going to be the same principal payment. And the loan that has the equal payment is just a total payment loan that you're going to be making every single year. So it's like an equal payment, but one's for the principal payment and the other one's just for the total payment. Dido? Anything else should I say?
No.
No? You think so? You guys have any questions? Anything? Do you have a question? Yeah.
Can't figure out how to lock the thing so that when you drag it down, all the interest payments show up on the other.
We can talk about that too. Yeah. By the time I show you guys, he's probably going to come in. Because there is a way to drag everything, so you don't have to do it every single time.
Done?
I guess.
Good. Did you speak loud?
Yeah, I think so.
No, you don't. Go down. Actually, don't go down. Go to the computer. You have to do Excel and expand. And I want to figure out what is happening. So, what is happening? Start from my body here, in here. What is the loan? Good. Valeria is a businesswoman. Valeria is a businesswoman. She wants to have her own business. She has a good idea, and she knows how to make money, and she knows how to spend money. She goes to a school and she learns how to make a business plan. She went to that class and she had a really good business plan. She came here to my buddy who is in class next to her, but in reality, he works in a bank as an analyst. She gives him her business plan, and he says, that's a good idea. He goes on to Kelsey and says, well, Kelsey, can we give a loan to Valeria of how much? $100,000. And Valeria is gonna pay back that particular loan after some period of time. He gives her some time not to pay back the loan, but they have an agreement that she will be paying back the loan after 3 years. She gets the loan now, meaning what? I want to make a graph. What is happening now? Two different cases. The bank gives to Valeria $100,000 now. Valeria takes this money right now, and she has $100,000. The term of the loan is for 10 years. The term of the loan is for 10 years. She gets 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Free, not to have to pay anything. The bank doesn't get anything for the next 3 years. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. After this period, Valeria has to pay back that particular loan, which means after that particular period, at the 3rd year, the bank starts getting payments for Valeria's loan. After 3 years, Valeria is paying back every month. For the next 7 years. And I want to be able to go on and combine what I learned in my first chapter and what I learned in my second chapter. What is the difference? What you have in the first chapter is that the loan is given in annual terms. So when you have a loan at the annual terms, Valeria has 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. But if you want to do it in monthly terms, the first year has 12 months. All the years have 12 months. And she needs to know what is happening. What is happening here? 10 years. By 12 months is 120 periods. The first 3 years, Valeria does not have to pay anything. 36 months out of the 120. For the next period, Valeria has to pay an equal amount. The rate for the loan is 5%. But now we have to find out how much that 5% is in annual terms. So what do we have? We have two concepts. We have time and we have rate. And we have a formula. We know the formula to calculate future values is equal to the present values appreciating, in other words, increasing by 1 plus the rate. To how many times? How many times is that particular period? But now I want to calculate the periods differently. So what do I need to do? If the periods are calculated differently, I want to go from years to months. What did I do? Yes?
You have to make n the number of periods times 12.
I multiply. I multiply my years by 12 and I make that part months. I had 10 years, now I have 120 months. Do I have anything different or it's the same but in different fraction? Same in different fraction, but I want to keep everything balanced. So if I multiply one case and I want everything to be equal, what's the opposite operation of the multiplication? And I want to divide something by the same factor, so I'll keep things the same. I divide the rate over the 12 periods. And that becomes the monthly rate, which is equivalent to the annual rate that I had before. And I want you to digest that particular case. What did I say? I said that the rate in annual terms is 5%. The rate in monthly terms is what? According to what we said before. Is 5 divided by 12. And this is the way I want you to do it. Don't bother make the calculations. The computers would make the calculations. And this is the monthly rate. And I want you to be able to prove to me that these two rates are exactly the same. How do I prove it? Dito. How do I prove it?
Do you want me to come up there and do it?
No, I want you to tell me.
Easier for me to do it than to explain.
Okay, go on and do it. The rest of you try to do it as a graph, not as a mathematical proof, as a graph into your notebook. How you will do it. I want you to do it as a graph. Why as a graph? Because it's easy to do it as a graph. And I want you to prove it. And I want Kelsey to go to Excel and make it with Excel as a proof. Good. He comes from Africa. That means that in his high school he learned algebra. And that means that he knows how to use algebra. And I am sure that he lost you, because you're not from Africa and you're from Queens or Brooklyn. And I want to be able to do the same thing in a much easier way. So what do we have? We have a year. The year is split to 4 quarters. Every quarter is split to 3 months. And I have 2 options. If I have $1 here, and if I have 5% annual rate, from the beginning to the year to the end of the year, I will have how much I had at the beginning plus the annual rate. I put the annual rate with a capital letter. And if I go to the lowercase, I want to see what is the rate in monthly terms. 5/12. So what is happening here? I have $1. I get the dollar in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months. If the dollar within a month, it gets 1 plus small r. For all the year, how many of these do I have?
12.
I have 12 months, which means this information and this information should be the same. Is it the same or not? And is it an easy way to understand it like this, or it's easier to do it how I would do it if I was from Africa? That's the easiest way to do it.
Either way you did
Either way. I mean, it's just
Either way, it's the same thing.
you divide by 12 and they go backwards.
Fine.
5 times by 12.
Fine, I go on and I want to prove it. And I'm asking Kelsey now to do whatever I did as a graph with the numbers in her Excel. Because she gave me a resume, and in her resume says that she knows Excel. Same thing like all of you. And I want to see that particular case with everybody. And now we can see what is happening. Before I go anywhere further, I want to know what is the monthly rate. 5% annual rate is the same as 0.417 of a percentage every month. And before I go on and I do anything, I want to see if every month I get 0.417. In 12 months, do I get the same amount that in 1 year I will get with 5%? If this is the case, from an empirical point of view, I will know that this is what is happening. So what did she do? She put here something that is very interesting, and I want all of you to be able to know how to do that stuff. And we will send you an Excel where Kelsey is going to be talking, saying what she did. In 1 year, she has 12 months. So I want on column C to see how that money grows month by month. And I want in column D, I want how that money grows in a year with different rates, the monthly rate and the annual rate. If I get the same calculation, if I get the same number, I'll trust her. If I don't get it, I will not trust it. And I don't want to trust anyone, except if you're absolutely sure that it's correct. So what do I do? In the previous test, test 1 and test 2, I asked you to tell me in plain English, what is the meaning of the rate of return? What is the meaning of 1? And what is the meaning of 1 plus the rate of return? Rate of return is what you get as a reward because you do something. 1 is what you have. And if you add to what you have what you get as a reward, is the result of the process of doing something that gives you a reward. We said the reward usually is perceived to be as something that is positive, but sometimes cannot be positive, sometimes may be negative. If it's negative, that means that you are losing. But between gaining and losing, there is another situation. To be idle and not get anything. Is this clear?
Yes.
If R is positive, then I get something more than 1. I gain. If R is negative, then I lose. If R is 0, then I have a break-even situation. I have exactly what I had before. How do we compete? We compete if we get something in return. And if her return is better than my return, that means that she's doing things better than me. Clear? And I want to know what is happening. And I didn't say I want to see the $100 or the $1,000. I want to be simple. And what did I say? I want to look what is happening with $1. I have $1 here, and I have $1 here. In both cases, I have the same value. In one case, I go on and I see what's happening within a year. And within a year, I need to take that particular value that I have and to multiply it with my annual rate. I want to take the value and multiply with my annual rate. And I want to take that particular dollar and add it to what I make. And I want that particular dollar to be here, which means that's the easy part, right?
What is this formula graph?
Which means if within a year I make 5 cents from a dollar, the rate for the year is 5%. And this is what we know so far, right? Then the next case is what is going to happen if every year I don't get 5%, but every month I get that percentage here. What do I have? What do I have? How much do I get within 1 month? Within 1 month, I have what I had at the beginning, and I add. What do I add or I multiply? And I multiply whatever I had plus the monthly rate. And I have it, what is happening here. And this is the value that I get in 1 month. I don't know if it's wrong. I want to be wrong so I can figure it out. I give a little bit more space so I can see what is happening. So I get 1/4 of a penny for the first month. What do I have in my formula that I cover here? I said if I do that for 12 months, what I will have is what I have at the beginning plus the rate that I have the monthly. How many times I do that? 12 times. And if I click here and I get 5 cents, it's going to be exactly the same as I had before. I go on and I format it. Do I get the same number? Month after month after month, do I get the same number? Do I get the same number if I format this? If I format this and I give an extra decimal point, do I get the same number?
No.
And here is a mistake. And here I want you to be able to tell me what is happening, what is right and what is wrong. Approximately speaking, you get the same thing. But I don't want approximately speaking, I want the exact thing. Because if you don't have the exact thing, then you would not have exactly the same thing. And I want the number that would be here to be exactly the same as the number that would be here. And I will ask why, because if it's not $1, but if it's 1 million, or 100,000, or 10,000, would be significant difference. Is this clear what I'm asking you?
Yes.
But
How do we fix that?
I don't know. That's my question, how to fix it. And that's my challenge. You cannot go to Google to find it, and you cannot go to any book to find it. Because there is no book to tell you how to do it. You cannot ask Siri or Alexa to do it, and you have to take your brain, squeeze it, and figure out what is the right situation. Or, did you understand what I asked you before? Then you could be able to go and do it. And I'm looking to see what is happening here. And what is happening here is what the book is telling me. And the book tells me that if I want to think about time and I want to go from a monthly evaluation and I want to evaluate what is happening not in 10 years but in 120 months, which is equivalent to 10 years. And I want to make the evaluation in monthly terms for that 20 years. What I would have to do? I would have to use a monthly rate in such a way that the monthly rate for the same period would be exactly the same as the annual rate. And I want to go a little bit away from how the book is giving it to me. The book does not explain to me why. And I want to give you half the way to think why, because I want the other half to come from your mind. Does not make any sense to give you everything. What do I want to do? The book tells you the formula without any further explanation. That's fine for everyone who is not my student. For my student, the future value is related to present value if I need to look at my growth pattern. But if my growth takes the years and multiplies it with some other value of time, then you take that value of time that is here in a multiple terms, you extend the period, and you figure out at the smaller period what is the rate. This is what you have in your book, and every book. What do we have here? We have 1 year. If I take the year and I split it into half, I can evaluate things in half a year. If I take the year and I can split it into 4, I can evaluate things in quarters. Here is my evaluation in annual terms, then I'll have the evaluation in quarterly terms. If I take a year and I split the quarter into 3 months, I don't change anything. The only thing I have is everything is in monthly terms. If I take a year and I split the year into 365 days. I don't do anything. I do everything in daily terms. If I take the day and I split it in 24 hours, and I take the year and I have the day over 24 hours, I have that information in hourly terms. If I take the hour and I look at it for every minute, I have the year and I look the year in terms of minutes. If I take the minute and I split it into seconds, I take the year and I see what's happening in a year for every second. Is this clear? I do not look at different period of time. I look at different way that I divide the time period. If I divide the time period, then I want to see what is happening with the rate for that particular period. If I have it for the quarterly term, and I have a quarterly rate. What's the quarterly rate? The annual rate. The annual rate divided by 4 is the quarterly rate. Quarterly rate means what? I take $1 and I put it to see how much money I will make in 1 quarter. I'll take that money and I will see how much I'll have in 2 quarters. I'll take that and I will put it in how much I will have in 3 quarters. I'll take this and I'll see how much I will take in 4 quarters. Then $1 that I have here should give me X amount of money at the end of the year. $1 that I have here should give me the same amount of money, X, at the end of the year. Is this clear? Can you do it in your Excel? So I will see that you get the same number. And the same number, irrelevant of how many digits you have here. I don't want you to repeat my mistake. I want you to start it on your own. And as you start it on your own, I would like to do it as simple as possible. I had a professor that taught me math. Only one professor taught me math. The others were giving me grades and they were passing material. One taught me how to think. And I want to be able to do it. So what Kelsey has to do? Kelsey is going to take 4 quarters. And Kelsey has, for these 4 quarters, 1 year. Kelsey has $1 in both cases. And Kelsey has a rate. If the annual rate is 5%, and we're talking about quarters, then the quarterly rate is the annual term divided by what is the quarterly rate. These are rates that we have. Which means, what do I want you to prove to me? That 5% annual rate is equivalent to 1 1/4 every quarterly period. So what do you do? What do you do? What do you do here? And what do you do quarter after quarter after quarter? What would I ask you to do? I would ask you to put one information here and then drag it all the way from here, so at the end of the period after 4 quarters, you will get exactly the same that you get after 1 period. If it's exactly the same, then I will be comfortable that Kelsey is not cheating with me. And anything that she will say from that point on, I will take it. What I don't want you to do, I don't want you to go to a bank anywhere else, that they will give you something and you will take it as if this is what it is. I don't want you to come to my class and say, okay, this is what my professor said. I don't want you to go to the book and say, okay, this is what the book said. Everybody makes mistakes. So what do I want you to do? I want you to tell me what is happening. 5%. In 1 year, it does not give me 1.05, it gives me $1.05. I need to be formatted. Even if it's correct, I'm not going to give you full credit for that. Then here, I want to know how much I will make in the first quarter. And I want you to show a process. You remember about a month ago I was talking about process? I want you to tell me what is the process. Process is what you have the previous period, multiply to what you have at the current period. And as she has it here, she is more or less ready to make the right thing, but she needs to think what does not change from 1 quarter to the other quarter and what it changes from 1 quarter to the other quarter. Why did you erase it? Who said it was wrong? I didn't say it was wrong. I said that you needed to figure out which cell is variable and which cell is fixed. Where you're going to put a dollar sign and when you would not put a dollar sign. It was not wrong, it was right. It needed to be additionally specified. To the power of what? To the power of quarters. You want to have the first quarter, now you make it wrong. And now the formula is correct. Now you format it, and that is the dollar. But if you take it and you drag it, it's going to be wrong, because you do not have everything fixed that needs to be fixed. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. What is happening in that particular case? I don't know. Did you do it?
I just have a question. I didn't do it that way exactly, but it comes out to the same answer.
That means that you are correct.
But I didn't do it by multiplying. I just added.
That's fine.
Okay.
That means what? From one point to another point, there is not only one way to do it, you can be able to do it in many ways. So, one person did it. I have one person that I will trust his calculation for finances. Which means, if I have to get a loan, I'll trust his stuff. And I want to trust everybody's stuff. That's why you need to pass the class. Okay. And I want you to think, this is simple stuff. It's not difficult stuff. It's simple stuff. What do you need to do? Let's do it again. In a very simple way. The first quarter, what you have? You have this one. Multiply with a quarterly rate. Correct? You make 1 cent. In this 1 cent that you make, you add
Yearly is.
What you have, you add what you have before. You take it and you drag it further down. Why you make a mistake? Because you do not lock things. This is a very common mistake. Make it as many times as you can make it. You would learn how to correct it. What do you need to do? You need to take the rate. What rate? From I5. You need here, and I5 needs to be fixed. If I5 is fixed, then you bring it down here. You made 3 cents. Is this correct? Is this correct? What do you have? You have $1, 1 cent, and 30 points of a cent. On that, you increase it with 1 1/4. And you go on and you increase it. Are you comfortable? She said she is comfortable. If she is comfortable, she would go to the 3rd quarter. The 3rd quarter. What she is doing? She is taking that amount and increases it by that amount. Is this correct? Yes or no? She says yes. I take it and I bring it further down. Is this correct? If I get exactly the same amount, it is correct. If I have slight variation, then there is a problem. And what kind of a problem I have now? Yes.
I just have a question. Why is if you do it quarterly, there's an extra 0.009, and if you do it yearly, it's just 0.0500.
Good. I have another question to answer your question. Is the computer always smart, or is the computer sometimes dumb? And what the computer cannot do, the computer cannot make accurate divisions. And we call that particular process rounding error of the computer. I'll give you an example. One over 3 is equal what? 0.333333 for many times, or its exact fraction. If the computer takes the approximation and is using the approximation to the division to make the calculations, does not give you exactly the same information as if the computer does accurate division and thinking in proportional terms. As we start developing software at the beginning, and Excel is in that area of software, that they do not use fractions, but they use approximation to fractions, then you will have some mistakes. Except if you use formulas and something else to make your case clear. Is it clear with that part? Then, having said that, I will put everything on the side. And if I put everything on the side, I want to go on and see what is happening with my case. What is the case? She wants to get a business loan. She gets a deal. What is the deal? The deal is that she will pay for 7 years. But she will start this count of 7 years with a grace period for the first 3 years. Which means what? This is the first year, right? This is the first year. This is the months of the first year. I'll take that information and I will bring it and I will calculate what is the previous period plus 1. That's my second year. She needs to go on to the third year. How many years we said we have a loan?
Professor, when you do that, it starts counting from 2.
You are right. So why do we have a here 2? Why do I have here 2?
Select it, highlight, drag up, and then pull down.
Because the number here is column B, it's not from column A. Why do I have here 2? Because the number here does not take the accurate information that I want to have. What is here? 1 up to 12. I take this and I'll bring it down. Where are you going?
I have a meeting to go to with my advisor.
Okay. So what do we want? We want to drag this part and have it all the way down. I need to do it right. Is this right?
Yes.
Doesn't work. Why doesn't work? Why doesn't work? We need to have exactly the same merits. The year starts from the first period. This goes here. What do I need to have? Always to start for the first period. How do I have that start from the first period? That always should go on to the first period that I have here and be the right place. So what do I need?
I think when you first draw, you have to just.
I don't need to put a number, but I need to put that particular information. Then it does not give me that part. This is what I want you to start working. Clear? What do I have? I have 10 years. I go to 10 years. I go for 10 years. I have my loan for 10 years. The first 3 years, I don't have to pay anything. For the other years, all the way up to the 10th year, I'm paying the loan. And this is what she wants to do as a business loan. Is this in any book? No. Is this in reality? Yes. I want you to be ready for reality. So what she is doing? She is going to be paying the loan monthly from the 4th year all the way up to the end of the years. And I want her to have a simple case. And the simple case is that she needs to have a fixed payment for every month. Fixed payment every month. We go to chapter 4, and that's the third case that we have. Fixed payment every month. How do you calculate it? You go on to your case, and you have a payment. And you calculate the payment. These are the payments that you are going to have. You calculate your payments. You pay. You don't pay for the 3 years. You pay for the 7 years every month. And you want to have a calculation. Why do I want that to be your exam problem? For several reasons. One is because I want you to start thinking. The other is because you cannot cheat. You can open the books, you can open everything in the internet, and you can't find anything like this. The most important part is that this is a reality. Why you give her a grace period? Because she needs to start her business and have enough money to pay the loan. What you really need to calculate? You need to calculate the case. And then something that it's not in the book, and I told you that last week, and this is the answer to the question, how do we know that this is a fair loan? I'm listening. How do you know that this is a fair loan that you take and he's not cheating you? Fair loan is if the present value of the money that you get now to the present value of the money that you will pay over the 7-year period monthly after the 3 years, that amount of money is also $100,000. Then you know that the money that you got and the money that you will pay are exactly the same value today. This is a fair loan. If this is not the case, that's not a fair loan. And that's not in any finance books, but that is what you really need to know in reality. Which means I want you to be able to tell me what's the payment here. And out of the payment, I want you to know, out of the payment, I want you to know 2 parts. What is the part of the payment that goes for interest? And what is the part of the payment that goes for the principal? And I want you to use 2 different ways to calculate it. One is, I want you to use the functions that you have in the book. Do you have the functions in the book? Page 129, it gives you the functions. Page 128, it tells you how you calculate it without using the functions. The exams are open books, open notes. When you start working, nobody tells you, don't use your book. But everybody says, give me the correct calculations. What do you have in your book? A loan for 10 years. What do I ask you? A loan for 10 years, paid monthly. How do I ask you? You give her a grace period. I want you to think, how do you calculate the grace period? Make your mistakes. As long as whatever you get is correct. How do you know if whatever you get is correct? John is gonna tell me. I will look at the payments that I have. What do I have here? I have 70 and 14, 84 payments. The present value of all these future payments, if it's $100, $100,000, and she gets a loan for $100,000, it's a fair deal. Clear? Or not? If it is a fair deal, she is not going to be complaining, and he is not going to be complaining. We have business. And from that business, I want to know how much is going to be for interest of every payment, and how that much be for principal for every payment. she gets a deal. The first 3 years she does not have to pay anything.
Not even
But is there interest on the first 3 years?
Nothing.
okay.
They're just,
Then she starts having business. And the business is booming, and we go to other cases in the book. And she needs more money to go on and finance the business. And he has a feeling that at the end of the 10-year period, he's going to get his money. And she would go on and say, okay, can I pay less and less and less? Or I will translate the different. On the loan that I get, can I be able to borrow more money? And he will say, yes, as long as you sign up, at the end of the 10 period, you pay everything. Then I know that you comprehend completely the previous chapter. If you can't do it, you can memorize it. I don't care about it. Can you comprehend completely the previous chapter? I want you to look at the video of today's class. And I want you to look at the video of the previous class that I did. In the previous class, I didn't tell anything of what I said to you. But in the previous class, I said something very important. I said when you have business and the business is successful, the business appreciates, means that increases value. And the business appreciates much more than 5%. That's why he wants to lend her more money. Or that's why he wants to be a partner in that business. And if he's going to be a partner in that business, what he's going to do? He doesn't have a deadline period 10 years to get more money. He's going to be making more money for as long as the business goes or as long as the partnership goes. So we have two major forces. One is the appreciation force. Things are increasing. Or one is the depreciation force. Things are losing value. And as things change in values, we need to look at something else. The value of a dollar is different. And if the value of a dollar increases or decreases, then we have inflation or we have deflation. And usually what we have, ditto. When I'm talking, you're quiet. When you're talking, I'm quiet. When we have inflation, we have when of the value of the dollar is losing value. That's why we deflate the prices or we increase what we have. How do we know that we have inflation? When I came to New York, I was paying 25 cents to go from Penn Station to Park Place. Now I'm paying $2.25. What do I know? That in this 30-40 years period, what it was valuable 25 cents a quarter then is the same $2.75 today. That's the change of the value for that particular trip. That's inflation. In real life, I need to take into account when things are inflated, because otherwise I cannot be able to make calculations. And why do I need to make these calculations? Because what's happening to Canis? Canis is 20 years old right now, but when she's going to be 65, she wants to have lavish retirement. And when she's going to have lavish retirement, she needs to calculate how she would accumulate money from now till then, but also she needs to figure out how things could become more expensive than what there are now. Because if whatever she can calculate does not go higher than the inflation, she's going to be poorer then. And this is the main question that I want you to start thinking in finance about this point. Let's go to the basic idea. The basic idea that I want to do today is I want to evaluate a loan. And I want to make things simple. What did I do? I said that C would have a grace period. Forget that grace period. And start paying from the beginning of the 10-year period. Can you make the calculations without a grace period? You get a loan, you start your business, and you go on. When is he going to give that loan to Valerie? When Valerie has already started business. She does not need a grace period. But if Valerie is going to start her business now, she cannot be able to pay tomorrow. Like your student loan. You get a student loan now, you don't pay it from next year, because next year you keep getting another student loan to go to the second and fourth year. When you get it, when you get a job. After you get a job, as you have the first payment, you start paying the student loan. This is the reality of the loans. I don't want you to memorize things. I want you to start thinking critically of what is happening with that material we have. And on Wednesday, we're going to talk about another critical point, and I will keep posting and sending you things in YouTube of whatever we do in all the classes. It's the same stuff, but different presentations. Take the time to watch it, work things out. I told you what's going to be in the next test. In the next test, you have to evaluate a loan that has a grace period. And in that particular loan, you have to pay things in monthly terms. What do I want you to do? I want you to do homework. And next time that you're going to be in class on Wednesday, I want a volunteer like Anis to say, Professor, I'm going to come here and show you what I did. And I will go on and see what she will do. And before I go on and check the details, I will check something that is important. Is she giving me a fair deal? In other words, everything that I have to pay in the future, is it exactly the same of what I'm receiving right now or not? If I have to pay more than what I get, I don't think that's a fair deal. If I have to pay less than what I get right now, I know that she's making a mistake. If the mistake is to my advantage, I'll keep my mouth shut. If her mistake is to her advantage, then I would like to know. Clear? Good.